Okay.
We always talk.
All right, we're starting. We're streaming now.
Hi, family. Don't mind us.
Don't
We
look
just
here.
in the
You
middle.
have to look over here.
I'm gonna look where I want to look. Yeah, you ain't the boss of me. Goodness. Hi. How you doing? Welcome to the family meeting. Come on in.
All right. All right. Let us know in the chat that you can see us. This is what we're talking about today. This is the prop. So.
It should be. Never mind.
Petty Mo. Petty Mo.
Woo.
Where's those fans? Yeah. All right. All right. So we're obviously not at the office today. We're at the house.
Yes, because our office internet went down, y'all. I said, what in the what?
Yeah. It's very unfortunate.
Who's here?
Nobody's here.
Josie's here.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Josie. And Regina's here. And Rachel's here. Hey, family.
Well, I haven't seen Rachel in a day.
I know. Like, where's she been?
Long time no see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So people jumping on here. Go ahead. Anyone on YouTube?
All right. Hey,
Yente. All right.
Oh, Yente, we need to have a call. Yes.
Okay.
Melissa's here. Today is 11:10. Girl, she done put 10:20. Haha. We're in the Wayback Machine.
I don't get it.
No, the date here.
Oh. Oops.
I appreciate that, Melissa. I know people be like, what?
Oh, crap.
That's okay. Well,
here, I can end the stream and start
No,
it
don't
over
end the
again.
stream and start over again.
Oh.
We're all here.
All right. Sorry, I forgot to change the description. I'll change it after we go off. Oopsie. Okay. So it's been a few weeks since we had a stream.
Yes.
You were traveling.
Mm-hmm. I went to, I should have brought a picture so I could show everybody. I went to Phoenix and was in Phoenix for a couple of days. And then I went down to see my brother who lives south of here. Yeah, it was really good. It was a lot of family time. I did a week. Well, I did Tuesday to Sunday, family time. My sister in Phoenix adopted 2 little boys that she's had since birth. And so I became an auntie again. More boys in our family. We only have boys. I only have nephews. So now I have 5 nephews. And spent a couple of days in Phoenix with my sister-in-law, and that was really good. It was a really good time. We just laughed a lot. And then went down and spent some time with my brother and the same sister-in-law that I went to Phoenix with. And
you're missing the
what?
The interview. I'm trying to find a picture of it.
What interview?
That you went and met some new friends.
Well, I hadn't got there yet.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So, did that, and that was just good. You guys, family is so important. Like, we talk about family here. No, this is something I was thinking about while I was traveling, is that I talk about family a lot. And I love the body of Christ. I love, which hasn't always been the case, but I love.
there's a change in your tune.
That ain't always been the case.
4 years you lived here.
Bruh. Yeah.
You did not like the church Christians.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. He's a special body. But I love the body of Christ, and I love the family. And so, I think it's really important. I love to travel and meet new people who are brothers and sisters. But I realized that my work also, which I love, which is ministry, and I don't feel like it's like the grind. I feel honored to do what I do. And at times it can take me away from my biological family who needs discipleship, who needs, the other side of, the conversation and
the relationship.
Yeah. Not even, just to be like, oh, I must go and do this, but it's just about how do I, spend time with my blood family. And so it was really good. I worked when I could from my brother's house and did that. And then while I was in Phoenix, I also did an interview with Turning Point USA Faith. It is Turning Point USA is Charlie Kirk's organization, but they also have a faith arm. And so I went and was interviewed by them. I'm not sure when it's gonna drop, but it was such a good interview. They're doing some really good work. And so is that your phone going on?
No.
Oh, okay.
Are you kidding me? I never have my ringer on.
You got that right. She also doesn't never answer her phone. But
that's not true.
I'm gonna scoot over here so when the lightning strike, I'm not
I can't
impacted.
find a picture of you being on TPUSA Faith. I'm sorry.
That's
I was going to show it, but
we have proof. We'll post it later. I was actually there. I was.
All right.
Yeah. So
it's been a minute. So
it has been.
Okay. Esmar says this is his first time, his or her first time. What's the purpose of the family meeting?
Oh, awesome. The purpose of the family meeting is really just to connect, to talk about things that are happening either within the ministry or just in culture or in the church overall.
Help support each other.
Yeah, help support each other. People will put prayer requests in the chat, stream. Yeah, it's just a time to connect. So glad you're here.
This is kind of the most informal of the streams that we do.
Yeah.
And sometimes we come on here with no agenda. Sometimes we have one or two discussion items, and sometimes we're like, okay, we really got to talk about this.
Yeah.
It's been in the news. Let's have some perspective.
Yeah, and so people will sometimes post in the chat like, hey, can you guys talk about this? Do you want to talk about that? And so when we can, we will go to the comments that are in the chat and address those things. Yeah, it's really just literally the family meeting, like just getting all the cousins in the room to check in on each other.
Mike Davis is here.
Ooh, Mike, I was praying for you. Ooh, I was praying for you. I said, Mike got an angry face on his Facebook page. Let me intercede in the name of Jesus for whoever is coming for my Uncle Mike. But I'm glad to see that everything worked out, and do know that we were praying. I was praying for you. I don't think Kristen knew about it, but I was praying for you, and I'm glad that you shared it on Facebook.
All right. So we got a couple of items. Let's get into this first.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Candy.
All
see, Esmar, like it's literally we just here.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like I think that the family meeting is probably. I mean, I love off code, but yeah, like I just like we don't have to have a plan. Krista, every week, what we talking about on the family meeting? I'm like, I don't know what we talking about on the family meeting. We got to have a plan. I don't know. We just gonna show up. The cousins gonna come. What's up, Darren?
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, Vanessa? Okay, so this book, a couple weeks ago, I don't even know where I saw it at.
It was on
Twitter?
I looked it up this morning. It was in Elisa Childers' Facebook group.
Okay.
Somebody had posted a link to it, and then it got a lot of action on the string of like, oh, what's this? And then you put it on order.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is a new book. I think his name is Christopher Watkin. Yeah. It has a foreword by Tim Keller, and it's called Biblical Critical Theory.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a big, thick book. It's
like 600 pages or so.
Yeah. It's not. This is a book that after looking at it, we have not read every jot and tittle in this book. We just got it last night.
Yeah.
I read the preface by Tim Keller, and I read that's the foreword, and then I read the preface to get kind of, because that's usually where authors like tell you the gist of what they're gonna do. So just looking at the book, here's a way for you to understand how to
so they can see how thick it is.
Yeah, look at a book.
It's not for play, y'all.
So when you get a book like this, and it's really thick, it's from a big name publisher. It's published by Zondervan Academic. Okay, it's hardcover. This jacket on here is really high quality. It's almost got like a texture to it. They have invested a lot of money in this book, and they think they're going to sell a lot of them. That's why they have it this way. Mm-hmm. A normal like trade paperback, they think, oh, we could maybe sell, a few thousand copies of this. Now, these people are planning that they have really invested in this book, that they're trying to position this book as
the third way,
a cornerstone academic textbook to open an entirely new discipline of academics, Christian academics. In fact, Tim Keller says in his foreword, I thought this was very interesting. He says at the end of the foreword, he really hopes that one of the purposes of this is where he shares his hopes and dreams for this book.
Visions and goals.
I also believe that a lot of younger scholars and PhD students, those beginning their academic careers, will be able to find the kind of seminal reading of the kinds of seminal and riveting insights in this book that could turn into many research programs. So what Tim Keller's hope is for this book is that this book launches an entirely new academic discipline that people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, working on their PhD programs will read this book and then continue to develop its ideas and to build on it.
Yeah, I think the premise of it is that Christianity itself is a critical theory.
That's the premise of it.
So with that, coming from that angle, then we don't have to be afraid of the big bad boogeyman called critical theory. We just have to understand that, there's secular critical theory and there's Christian critical theory. And when we see Christianity as a critical theory, then we'll be able to go forward using critical theory methods to... I haven't gotten that far.
Well,
I've read, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to build on that, is that what this is, and just looking at a cursory look at it, is kind of like a systematic theology textbook, and that if you were to go through Grudem's systematic theology text, for example, he would have major topics like creation, humanity, fall, salvation, the cross, the incarnation, all of these things. Well, what this book is, it takes the traditional categories of a systematic theology text and then reimagines systematic theology as if the Bible and systematic theology can be reorganized as a critical theory. And this is quite intentional. So it's quite clear by Tim Keller's statements in the foreword that what his understanding of critical theory is: critical theory aims to make visible the deep structures of a culture and in order to expose and change them. Other critical theories, such as feminist theory, literary theory, critical race theory, queer theory, have sought to unmask and undermine the oppressive structures of Western society. But the term critical theory has an older and more basic meaning. So now here we go into the unique meaning that Tim Keller is going to try to put forward for critical theory. It means to not just accept what a culture says about itself, but also to see what is really going on beneath the surface. Every culture deploys multiple patterns, narratives, pictures, and images, vocabulary to create a quote unquote world or worldview or social imaginary. The Bible has its own narratives, images, and patterns that enable us to analyze any culture at its deepest level. In other words, at the structural levels of the ideas, and to both critique and appreciate it while at the same time preventing us from being captured and co-opted by it. A biblical critical theory, here's his definition, therefore can and should be developed and used by Christians living and ministering anywhere in the world. Christian theory must point to the beauty and truth of the gospel as the source of numerous fulfilling counter narratives. So he's trying to reorganize the Bible and systematic theology as a critical theory.
I don't want to be too critical. I don't, like, my heart kind of just like sinks. I read some of it. I was deep in. I opened it up to, I thought, a section that would be interesting, and it was interesting. Part of the section that I read, part of the question that was put forward, or the thought that was, presented, was Jesus himself humbled himself to be, to be like killed through crucifixion. How many, and this is just the gist of it, but how many CEOs would step down, and this is the example that they gave, would step down so the cleaning crew could continue to have their job. Critical theory is about power dynamics. And so I'm really interested in that. And I'll be honest, I won't have time with some of the projects we have going on right now. I won't have time to really sit and dig into this the way that I want to, like, in the next couple weeks.
It demands inspectional reading.
It is really for inspectional reading. But if you're coming to the conversation with the idea that power dynamics are bad, then like if that's this author's perspective, then I have other questions, because I don't necessarily, here it is. I don't necessarily agree that all power dynamics are bad. I also think that if the requirement for us to reimagine society is for all of us to now relinquish power, or consider what it would be like for me as the president of CFBU to, relinquish my position for the cleaning crew, I think we need to ask other questions. There are a lot of questions that we need to ask. And so I just wonder what the end goal is really going to be. And I wish I had time right now to really dig into it, because I'm really curious to see how they address power dynamics. If it's going to be a conversation of divesting yourself from power, if the oppressed are going to consistently be those who are considered minorities. I wonder, and when I hear you reading the preface, or which I thought was preface, but girl, I don't know what in the world. I didn't live my whole life calling it the preface. Gee, you know what? I done learned something new, and don't laugh at me. Right. But when you read the preface, it's kind of like when people say, what is it?
Bonnet?
No, don't be making fun of my nephew. When they say
I'm making fun of me.
I can't think of the word now. There's another word. But anyway, back on what I'm saying. Like in the preface and in the foreword, he was talking about the structural, issues within society. Is this just a euphemism for saying the power dynamics that occur within a society? These are some of the questions that I have.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear that it does seem that his intention is to reorganize the faith, reimagine the faith as a critical theory. I want to ask you a question about that.
Yes, but I want to say this too before I forget.
All right.
Part of what I take issue with, and I feel so bad because I haven't read it, and so I'm not trying to offer some huge critique on this project, but I just wonder, like, what if we just called it the gospel? Like, what if we just stuck with the gospel? Like, the gospel itself, when the gospel is presented, it lets you know that there's a problem, which is what a critical theory is meant to do. When the gospel is presented, it also lets you know what the solution is.
That was going to be my next question. Let's talk about that in a minute. I just want to do a couple comments, and then we'll come back to that.
Okay, let me say this. Esmar, I saw your question about the hate you give. I will try to address it toward the end of the family meeting. If not, I do have a blog about it on our website.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Maybe Elaine is on here. She's one of our moderators. Elaine, maybe you can find that blog on the hate you give and put it in the chat. That would be great. Or Yente's on there too. Let's see.
Zach. He's such a mess.
I don't know if that's Zach or Yente. I remember when we were being told we're not teaching critical theory.
Now they like, hey, let me open it up for you.
Yeah.
Here go to biblical critical theory.
Now see, Kimba says Christians are pitiful. We just do what the world does.
Kimba, I think we should go to coffee. Because, and that's so
Elaine
sad.
says something similar. It's weird that Christians are doing our own version of linguistic theft, trying to use words that mean something else, but in a Christian way. It's a very interesting insight.
It ain't interesting. The writing is on the wall. I'm like, you can see this from miles around. And that's why I'm like, has no one else thought of this? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, why do I have to
use Candy, you nailed it. They want to reclaim critical theory for Christ.
You know what?
That's the whole thing in a nutshell. It appears. Yeah.
Well, I'm at home. But
oh, it is Zach.
I told you. Because Yente had hers on there.
So yeah, all right. Now I do want to ask you a question in about critical theory.
Oh, hey, Leah.
That maybe you can give us, like, because you've given some thought to this, of what makes something a critical theory. Like, what are the key features? Because you and I were joking around one day, like, hey, let's make up our own critical theory. What would it need to have? What would that be? What makes something a critical theory? What makes it critical?
It needs to be able to identify a problem, and it needs to be able to solve the problem, but it also needs to be emancipatory in its
emancipatory.
You like that word, girl? No, I'm playing.
Oh my.
Hey Rihanna. Oh Rihanna, I saw your text message. I haven't even opened it. I missed it completely. I'm sorry.
My computer's about to die. I'm hoping Bob's going to come in here and help me plug it in. Let me send him a text. Go ahead.
Just go upstairs and get the one out of my black suitcase.
I think he already brought one down. Go ahead.
It's over there.
Yeah.
Oh, here I can do it. Anyway, sorry.
My computer's about to die.
Can you all kind of sidebar conversations? So yeah, it needs to be emancipatory. It needs to emancipate humans from slavery. The type of slavery is irrelevant, but because it needs to be emancipatory. So when you look at feminism or critical feminist theory, what is it emancipating people from? The patriarchy. It's emancipating them from this male dominant society. When you look at queer theory, what is it emancipating people from? From heteronormativity. When I look at critical race theory, what are people being emancipated from? From these racist structures that are inherent within our society. I am not saying I believe that, but that is what the theory that's what the theory does. It now looks at the society, it looks at the structures, and really all it's doing is saying the way that our society is structurally organized, what are the problems embedded within that? So that's whether there's a problem or not.
But that's why they call it problematizing.
Yeah.
Problematizing something. So if we had critical hair theory, we could make a critical.
Shoot, I wish somebody would liberate me. I need to be liberated. It rained the other day. Ooh, this whole side over here. I need liberation.
So if we had critical hair theory, where we started problematizing baldness, and we said that being bald is an oppressed people group. And so then we would come up with a solution for the bald people to emancipate them.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be, in a nutshell, like the idea of critical theory is that there has to be a problem, and even if people don't see the problem, then you have to engage in problematizing the problem.
Yeah.
To highlight the problem and a solution.
Yeah. And normally not everyone will see the problem. So those who do not see the problem would usually be those with hair.
Okay.
Or if you look at it like the bourgeoisie and the proletariat.
Okay.
So convincing the proletariat, hey, this is a problem.
Baldness is a problem.
Yeah. You need to, as the hair class.
Or the thinning hair, as Susanna says. That could also be that could be a marginalized group.
The thinning hair would be more in the middle. The targeted group would be the balds.
Okay.
The privileged group would be the hair.
This mop right here.
Yeah. And I feel like you're not looking like Samuel L. Jackson. But yesterday it's because I had to brush this down and use some edge control. Because y'all, a little bit of rain got on me and my umbrella. I was getting in the car and my umbrella collapsed. Y'all, and I had to go and get it. It was a mess. And all the rainwater just landed right here in this little ball on my head.
So when we're talking about a biblical critical theory, it's looking at, you can kind of generally fit it into this framework of a problem, a solution, emancipatory.
Here's something that I wrote from Max Horkheimer.
Okay.
He's part of the Frankfurt School. One of the, I believe he was one of the founding members. Him and Adorno, I believe. So he says a theory is critical to the extent that it seeks human emancipation from slavery. Emancipation from slavery in quotes, because slavery will be dependent upon the slavery that you are, or the system that you're talking about. So not all slavery is race-based slavery. Acts as a liberating influence and works to create a world which satisfies the needs, and here it is, and powers of humans. So when we go to our idea of baldness, we would say, if it was a critical theory, that those with hair maintain power over those who are bald. Why? Because people with hair get first chance at the barber shop. Can't go into a barber shop and really, get a lot of service if you're bald.
Hiring discrimination.
Yeah.
We look out at your employment at the business. You only have one or two token bald people, but so we could gather from that bald people are discriminated against and they're less hireable.
Yeah.
We've just invented a critical theory.
There it is.
Critical hair theory.
Critical hair theory.
Probably somebody Google it, see if it's a thing.
Now, Jeremy asked if he can get reparations for this. Don't play no games. Okay, because I will be in line too.
For his thinning hair.
Oh
boy. Okay.
So that is this. And
so once again, we've been talking about the book
Biblical Critical Theory.
And at some point we'll have a more in-depth conversation. These are just, again, our initial impressions from looking through it, skimming through it, and seeing what it's about.
I bet Neil Shinvy's probably already read it twice and
has a review in the
works. I mean, it only came out yesterday, but I am sure Neil Shinvy has done all that. Yeah. That man is smart. My goodness gracious.
So you know who's on our academic advisory council now?
Who?
Dr. Neil Shinvy.
Yes, he is. Yes. So our academic advisory council are a group of PhD individuals in different disciplines who really help to keep Krista and I accountable so that the things that we write, we say are in line academically. So we're not out just, willy-nilly, just saying, well, a critical theory is blah, blah, blah. But they actually hold us accountable. And if they see that we put something out that is, in error.
Or if we need help.
Yeah, if we need help.
Getting feedback. Here's our advisory council. Thaddeus Williams.
Now that was when Thaddeus, he must have been like 10.
Heidi Ventura at Trevecca University, Harold Felder, Corey Miller, President CEO of Ratio Christi. Our friend Joe Miller, who's now like the head of like the Worldview Center at Grand Canyon University.
Yeah, he's a cool cat.
He's doing big things there. Our friend Jacob Daniel and Mike Gurney, formerly professor of theology and philosophy at Multnomah University. Our friend Aaron Preston, who's been on the show a couple times, written some blogs for us. So we've got more people in the works, hopefully coming next year, but that is a very valued group of people that help us.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we are academically integrous. We don't want to lead people astray. I feel like we have so many Christians out here right now just leading people willy-nilly. Come on over here, let's go over here. Come on over here, let's go over there. And we don't want to do that.
We will not be willy-nilly today.
No, we want to make sure that we lead people. Wait a minute. Kimberly, what'd she say?
I was skipping that comment.
She a mess. You are hilarious. But, we want to make sure that we're leading people biblically.
Yeah.
And, when we're not, then we have a group of people who are able to say, hey, you're out of pocket on this. But shoot, y'all be writing in too. Hey, you out of pocket on this. And they be like, oh, let us go back and fix this. Somebody wrote in and told us, but I mean, that's what the family is. And, it's not about just letting your brother or sister go out willy-nilly and, look a hot mess or say something that's out of pocket. It's calling them to the carpet and being like, look, you said this and that's actually incorrect. And it's also for us about being humble enough to say, yeah, man, we missed that. So that's who we are.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. What's the next thing?
You had the next thing.
That was all I had, really, other than this crazy thing.
Yeah. Her.
You want to do that?
Yeah. She's my favorite.
So a few of you sent in this link a couple weeks ago. We haven't had a family meeting. So I had it in my back pocket. So here we go.
Help Doha. I don't know. Doha, isn't that a city in like Qatar or somewhere?
I don't know. It's a GoFundMe page for those on the podcast.
Yeah, so this is a GoFundMe page. The title of her GoFundMe page is Help Doha Heal from Racial Trauma. She is looking to raise $4,700. She has received $3,500 so far.
Yes. So she says, my name is Doha, and this is public. So our intention here is not to shame her. If anything, we're highlighting her GoFundMe. I'm a Nubian Afro-Indigenous interdisciplinary artist and decolonial practice-based researcher, currently residing in the stolen lands of these places. I think it's in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh. My apologies for my bad pronunciation, people.
She's in Vancouver.
Yes. Colonially known as Vancouver. So she's asking for donations for financial support through GoFundMe because she experienced racial trauma back in April. So apparently there were some racist and transphobic remarks from an artistic director working in one of the school districts. She faced these remarks, and on the next day, she witnessed culturally appropriated performance by a non-Black hip hop instructor who publicly humiliated me and the Black community after I highlighted her lack of cultural and historical context about hip hop. So, and she goes on that racial trauma has tremendously impacted my mental and physical health in ways I have never experienced. I'm not eating, drinking, or sleeping well, etc.
But if we scroll down, it says, I recently completed my second MA degree that resulted in me drowning in more debt and student loan. I intended on publishing my MA thesis, apply for art grants, complete art projects, and more, but following this trauma, I missed every deadline. As the only Black employee, after facing racism on both dates, my employer declined to cover the therapy sessions toward my healing journey.
Financial reparations for the trauma and the unpaid emotional labor, researching resources for legal and emotional support, as well as Lyft expenses.
Lyft being the rideshare program.
That's like Uber?
Like Uber. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. What say you?
Well, we get this. I want to. I don't know. I mean, we get this question a lot about racial trauma. I think that. Oh, Tracy says she's Canadian. She's culturally appropriated American culture. Hip hop came from New York.
That part.
Oh my.
That part.
Candy, you're the Canadian on the stream.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. She needs a lift. Oh,
don't say that. Don't say that.
I won't.
All
right.
But
that was funny. I'm not going.
All right. So I guess my difficulty with this is when people ask us this question about racial trauma, we've been very slow to comment on the issue of racial trauma because, quite frankly, this is an issue that I don't completely understand.
Because white people can't have racial trauma?
No, it's just that
I'm just playing.
To me, these could be hard incidents, but then we have to get into a definition of trauma. Like, to me as an outsider, I think of trauma as like what John Perkins describes in his book One Blood, of being beat up.
Now, do you okay? So let me help. Let's go through some of the definitions.
Yeah,
of trauma.
Beat up because he was Black, or when we talked to our friend Alton Hardy, and
he was spat on.
He was spat on by people because he's Black, and
they tried to like attack him with a chain,
and yeah, and like, so to me, I understand, like, race-based traumatic incidences because I'm a particular race. For me as an outsider, I don't get this. But I don't want to comment too quickly because I don't know what definition of trauma we're using here.
And that's the exact point. When we talk about redefinition of words and redefining words, I think trauma is one of those words that is being grossly redefined and misused. When you historically think about the word trauma, when you look in the DSM-5 for the word trauma, when you study trauma is always associated either to something physical or an attempt physically, something that that is like near death, or someone, like when I think about, and I'm most familiar with the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. So when I think of a child in trauma, it would be like, my parent went to jail, my parent died. I was, physically abused or sexually abused. that I saw someone be killed. I used to work with kids who would see people be stabbed or killed or, whatever. And so there were concrete adverse experiences that we could go back to and say this was a traumatic event. Now, whether or not that child had quote unquote symptoms from the event is something completely different, where we would say that that child was traumatized. But all of this, you hurt my feelings, bull.
Okay.
That has never, since I've been learning about trauma, that has never.
And we should probably clarify that you've done a thing or three with trauma, working with trauma victims.
Yes, and having to understand it. And so the idea that, well, he rolled his eyes at me, or the white person sighed heavy, or I saw the American flag on a cookie, or it hasn't always been that. But what
that
we're
American
doing,
flag on a cookie thing, that's real.
I know it is.
Yeah.
But what we're doing now is we're saying that everything is traumatic. So if everything is traumatic, what really is traumatic?
So when you're talking about ACEs, this is going to be new for some people. I just want to make sure people understand what this is. There's a little infographic about it. And, what we're talking about when we're talking about trauma of abuse. So physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, physical.
Oh, they've changed it a little bit. Yeah.
Physical and emotional neglect, and then household dysfunction, mental illness. So I'm assuming that could also be mental illness of a parent.
Yes. So it would be like a primary caregiver. So this is a little different. They've now broken it up into 3. We always just said 10. But the mental abuse of a parent or primary caregiver, the incarceration of a parent or primary caregiver or sibling who's in the house with child has a close relationship with, substance abuse,
seeing the mother treated violently.
And I want to offer clarification on too, because I think when we talk about domestic violence, we talk about domestic violence from the position of the man always harming the woman. Scroll down a little bit. The man always harming the woman, but it also impacts the child when women hit men and act violently and throw things toward, at men. So
that's good clarification.
We want to say when parents or people in the home, and I wouldn't even say when the mother is treated violently, I would just say violence in the home.
Okay.
And that's what it's been for a very long time. Divorce.
So these are the typical standard events that would cause trauma in people, or especially in children.
Yeah.
But now you've taught me that trauma can show up, like you can have 2 siblings in the home where the same things are happening, but they also experience it differently. And that can have different impacts on the child.
Yes.
And so trauma responses can vary.
Trauma responses can also vary child to child, adult to adult. We need to look at, like resiliency and the fact that there's just a certain percentage of the population on the planet who are naturally resilient. But even if you're not naturally resilient, trauma doesn't have to impact you the same way that it would impact your twin living in the home with you.
Okay.
But when we think about things like race-based trauma, I do believe race-based trauma can be a thing. I just think that trauma itself needs to fit within the guidelines of trauma and not be so
subjective.
So yeah, subjective that now, you let the door close and I had to sit my bag down and now I am racially traumatized. Or I saw a white person dancing hip hop and now I am racially traumatized. We need to get out of our feelings to a degree and get back into some concrete facts of, no, boo, you just upset.
Now,
now you're trying to get $4,700.
Now, back in your dance days, people might not know that Monique used to have a dancing background. You actually said that there were some white people that you danced with that were very good.
Way better than black people. Yes. I was like, oh, where y'all come from? My goodness. And the dance studio that I participated with for a while, they actually had Korean students come from Korea. They had a dorm and everything. I was like, these kids could just like whip it. Like, I was like, man. But when I was, I remember dancing. Do you remember that girl, Britney Spears? She went crazy with you, I think.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
familiar with her.
like I danced with one of her background dancers. There was just it was just a rainbow of people. But I remember the time when I walked into a dance studio and do you remember George Jefferson?
Yeah.
George Jefferson was in the class next to me.
What was he? Was he taking like ballroom dancing?
I don't know, but I was like, that's George Jefferson. Yeah.
Okay, so in this kind of trauma, in this that she's mentioning here in this fundraiser that she's trying to raise $4,700 for, and if any of you want to donate,
You better not.
You can
You
go
know
check
what?
out
I'm not trying to
her GoFundMe page.
I am not. You know what? Hold up. Hold up. We don't know Doa.
No,
Okay.
we don't know.
We don't know what Doa. Y'all do know me. Y'all want to talk? Y'all want to give to racial trauma today? Look how close she's sitting next to me. I feel traumatized. Can you scoot over?
No, there's a leg right here.
Oh, no, that's messed up.
Okay.
And it's a white leg on the table too.
The whole table's white except for the top, but
that's discrimination.
So in this,
and now look, you're not even acknowledging my comments.
No, I'm not.
That's
traumatizing. I'm ignoring them. So, but this is how this is being kind of reshuffled in terms of the definition. There was Candy made a comment that I thought was helpful, but I can't find it back. But she said, was this actually traumatic, or was this just reinforcing the beliefs that she already had?
Yeah.
And to what extent, is our culture sending messages to minorities to look for these kinds of offenses?
I think that it sends the message to look for them, and then it tells you when you find them what it means and how you should feel. And if you don't feel this way, then you are a part of the problem.
Kimba says, why does Krista get the leg seat?
Exactly. Well, wait a minute. Hey, I have a leg over here too.
Yeah.
But it just, there's a reinforcing of the narrative. And so then every time it comes up, you do feel, some kind of way in your feelings. That actually has a name for it. And I am forgetting the name now, but I know in the critical theories, one of the ways that we would describe some of it would be narrative, like the narrative tenet. And, narrative being the fact that we tell our stories, or the storytelling tenet, we tell our stories over and over again, and how even storytelling to a degree can continue trauma to a degree, a lesser trauma. I'm not talking about, capital T trauma, but when we continue to hear just over and over and over again about the ills of, racism and how it's impacted certain people, and how Uncle Jim Bob was beaten in the street in 1923, and here we are in 2022.
So the intergenerational storytelling could have kind of a secondary traumatic effect.
Yes, or I would definitely say there's consequence to it.
Okay.
Because now you're constantly, living in that 1923 moment in 2022.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that we don't, have an accurate depiction of history, but we must do so responsibly.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike Davis was saying, that trauma is being redefined. And I think that that's part of what's making it so confusing, because you don't want to just be a heartless bully and say forget you if there's genuine trauma, but we're not really allowed to kind of probe and have evidence and clear definitions. And it's just really about the storytelling and the impact. So it becomes highly personal and subjective. So then we've got situations like this that are being called racial trauma.
Yeah, and I think that there is a component of trauma that is personal and subjective anyway, but we need to make sure that we're not removing the boundary so far that now anything is defined as trauma.
Yeah. I want to even though we probably don't have an official position on this right now, I want to just acknowledge Zach's comment here. There has been some debate as to the legitimacy of inherited trauma genetically. Have you guys written anything about that? No, not yet. This is the idea of kind of the whole field of epigenetics is the technical term for this field, where you can actually alter your genetic material through circumstances, and then there's a certain plasticity to some aspects of the genetic code where if you're exposed to certain things over time, it can actually turn on and turn off aspects of the genetic code. So there's been a lot of discussion now in the trauma race conversation as to whether or not there's actually can be an epigenetic component to racial trauma that gets passed down from generation to generation. Now, there's a few studies out there suggesting this. I lack the ability to weigh out the validity of that data set. So it would be great if there's anybody on the stream who knows about epigenetics, has a PhD in molecular biology or biochemistry or something relevant to that, and could read those papers for us and write a blog post. That would be great.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. But we haven't run on that bandwagon because we have to verify these things. We can't just willy-nilly start saying something because it's repeated a lot on YouTube. Like, we need somebody to help mentor us and walk us through that. So, okay. Any other thoughts or comments before we go?
No, I don't think so. Was there anything else? Oh, you know what? Yes, my goodness gracious. I did want to have a brief conversation about Giving Tuesday that's coming up. Giving Tuesday, in case you're not familiar, is the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and it is a day where many nonprofits, a good majority of nonprofits, really do fundraising to fund for the projects that they'll be working on in 2023. Last year, we raised funds for our office, for an administrative assistant, and to bring our book Reconciled to print. All three of those things were accomplished because of the generous giving of all of our family members. And so this year, we are going to have our Giving Tuesday fundraiser again. Again, it's the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I cannot tell you quite yet what we're funding for, but it is going to be very cool. It will be announced in a small video that we're going to do. Do you remember, I know you remember. Do you guys remember last Giving Tuesday's video where I was in the bed? Okay, so this is the whole thing. In 2021, we did all of our work from the house. So for the beginning of CFBU in 2020 through the end of December 2021, I worked out of my bedroom. And Krista also worked out of my bedroom, right on the couch that was 3 inches from me. And so I was like, I've got to get out of like my bedroom, but we don't have the money for it. And so we did a video where I was laying down in my bed, and I think my alarm went off, and I popped up out of bed, but I had all of these clothes. I think I took like almost all of the clothes in my closet out and made like a big mountain of clothes on top of me. You couldn't even see me. And then I pop up and I go to my desk for my meeting, and then I put on a wig so that I could look like I was presentable. It was really funny. Do we have it?
I'm going to look here.
Oh, is it? Let's see if we have it, because it was a good one. That's it right there.
Where?
Isn't this it right here?
Help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is, you guys. It's hilarious.
Okay, hold on. This is not an instant situation. Okay.
This isn't. Okay.
Here we go.
If you haven't seen it, here we go.
It's entitled, this is for the podcast, Help Monique Relocate Her Roommate.
My roommate was CFBU.
Giving Tuesday 2021. All right, I gotta turn on the sound. All right.
Ready?
I hope so. I hope this works. Monique, you're gonna be late for your meeting. Oh, I forgot about the onesie.
Yeah.
the wig.
What was her name? Stella?
Carol.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe the traffic.
You wouldn't believe the acting.
Hi, I'm Monique Dusan, co-founder of the Center for Biblical Unity. And in case you're new here or you didn't know, the Center for Biblical Unity is actually headquartered in my bedroom. Yes, CFBU and I are actually roommates. We would love to be able to get out of my bedroom. Maybe even get a desk for my co-founder, Krista. While Krista and I are thrilled to work literally 6 inches from each other, it sometimes has its drawbacks. Now, honestly,
Okay, that's enough of that. So that was last year.
That was last year, people. And
We've come so far.
We have a whole office. You guys, it is the best. It is so good.
Thanks to all our Giving Tuesday peeps.
Yeah,
last year.
Not only do we have an office, but we have April, who is our administrative assistant, who is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then Reconciled is up on Amazon, and we should be getting our hard copy books next week on Tuesday. I'm so excited.
Kim Vick says she keeps her wig in her drawer too.
Hey, sometimes you got to.
Oh my gosh. So be on the lookout for Giving Tuesday. We're going to have a great video. We hope to film it next week with a guest star of
Shamika.
Big proportions.
Yes. And so yes,
somebody with a big name person is going to be in our spoof this year. Let's just put it that way.
She's so excited. So please be praying for our Giving Tuesday and all of our end of year fundraising. It is a very big time for us to be able to fund a lot of the things that we do, throughout the year. I don't know how many of you guys know, but a lot of what we do is just done because of the donations. Our everything we do is run 90% on the giving of just individual donors. Our speaking fees are a very small percentage of, what we do. And that is intentional so that we can make sure that, we can go to places, out of my tongue, to places where, they may not have all of the resource, but they need the truth of the gospel. And so that's our heart. Please be praying for us.
Where do you keep the wig at the new office? Does it have its own desk?
No, I got rid of Carol. Yeah.
Oh, I can't say anything else now. All right.
No. Just no.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Look at Tracy says, now you are less than 6 inches apart. It is. I feel like the power is imbalanced here.
So, well, hopefully we'll have internet back in our office soon.
Yep.
Next week,
Monday.
Next week, we're going to be at the Evangelical Theological Society. I'm taking Monique for the first time. It's going to be her first big academic event and take her to all the nerds.
Can you see how excited I
am? So we're going to go hear a bunch of nerdy papers and she can see what it's like to be with the theological nerds. It's kind of like Comic-Con, only a lot of
like Jesus Con.
It's a lot
Bible
of
Con?
it's a lot of white men and 3 black women. So it's gonna be big fun.
It's not racially diverse. That's okay.
No, but it will.
My question is: are they going to speak truth, or are they going to give me social justice?
That's what we're going to find out. But the lines to the restrooms will be short. That's the best part of ETS.
Oh,
because there's only like 3 women at the conference.
I'm here for it. I am here for it. So we will not have a family meeting next week because we will be traveling.
And then the next week is Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But we'll probably still have a live stream
somewhere in there.
Yeah. And getting everything ready for Giving Tuesday. Watch for our Giving Tuesday video, this year's satire, to drop on Black Friday.
Yes. Oh, going to ETS. I'm jealous. Oh, Mike. I'm just like, here we go. Maybe I'll get excited. All right, you guys,
All right.
have a great week. We are so appreciative of all of you.
All right. We will see you soon. Good night and God bless.
Bye.